so many people that are like, she was a fraud, she was a liar, she was manipulating, and I know the look. I know the look.
No,
I know that you're like right there.
I'm cautious because I don't think it was like intentional manipulation.
I don't
really
either.
I do think that Cody decided that he had this new person that was like this new insider with him.
The new shiny.
This Sunday's episode of Sister Wives is going to dive deep into the friendship, or lack thereof, between Meri Brown and Robyn Brown. Just a heads up, this discussion is based on events from over a year ago, so keep in mind that Meri is in a different place now compared to back then when she was chatting with Jen. After Meri parted ways with Cody, she started to break free from the fog of living with a narcissist, allowing her to reflect on her relationships within her family. For the past 15 years, viewers have witnessed how Cody and Robyn have impacted Meri, and it's been quite a journey. As we watch the show, we're starting to see that the women have varying perspectives on their experiences in this family dynamic. We're uncovering some of the differences in how certain women and children were treated, as well as the financial inequalities that existed. One major point to consider in the world of polygamy is that the legal wife typically enjoys more financial advantages than the other wives. This is because the legal wife is recognized by law, which often dictates where the husband's primary residence is. So while Meri was Cody's legal wife, she had a different lifestyle and faced a lot more responsibilities. Not only was her husband cheating on her legally, but he was also having children outside of their marriage. This was all happening during a time when polygamy was practiced in Utah, and it's a lot to unpack. It's really tough to see how Meri has been treated, especially since she's been prosecuted for allowing her husband to take on other wives, even when they were already married. It feels like such an unfair burden to place on her when, in reality, it's the man who's making those choices. For years, we've struggled to separate the truth from the reality presented on the show. We could sense the tension between Meri and Robyn, and it was clear that their relationship wasn't as straightforward as it appeared. Many of us noticed that Robyn seemed to be manipulating things behind the scenes, exerting more control over family dynamics than what was shown on screen. There were moments when the wives would speak up, hinting at the fact that Cody was spending a lot of time with Robyn. But Robyn's behavior often made it hard to overlook her influence. She frequently took on the role of speaking for Cody during interviews, deflecting questions and steering the narrative in a way that kept the focus on her and Cody. It became evident to most viewers that they were the ones shaping the story, while the other wives had to follow along. This makes it incredibly challenging to determine what was real and what was fabricated for the show. Adding to the complexity is the fact that they're all part of a cult, where they're taught to lie and present a polished image of polygamy. So, there's a lot of performance involved. The portrayal of Meri's relationship with Robyn and how she entered the family has been completely misrepresented. Meri didn't choose Robyn. She didn't encourage Cody to marry her. In fact, Cody and Robyn admitted just earlier this season that they met long before Meri ever got involved. In fact, Cody had his sights set on Robyn and pretty much used Meri as a stepping stone to get to her. It's not like Meri was chasing after Robyn. She only realized the truth this season when she overheard them discussing how they met before she was even in the picture. For years she was led to believe they met through her, but that was a lie. Just like the show tried to convince us that the divorce was Meri's idea when it really wasn't. A lot of the storylines were fabricated. They were just that, storylines for entertainment. They kept so much of the real drama hidden behind the scenes, and until their contracts are up, they're still somewhat restricted from revealing everything. So for now we're only getting bits and pieces, but leaks are starting to come out. Just yesterday, Meri admitted to Tamron that her biggest conflicts in the family were with Robyn, not with Christine or Janelle. She had to be careful about what she said on the show because they were controlling the narrative. Meri confirmed she didn't want the divorce. It was pushed by them. Eventually, we'll probably learn the full story about how she felt pressured into divorcing because that's what Cody and Robyn wanted. So Robyn could take her place as his legal wife. Meri found herself in a really tough spot because, even before the show kicked off, she was on the verge of leaving Cody. Janelle had already left him before that, so the family was already in disarray. The idea that they all lived together in one house with the kids is a myth because Janelle was gone for 5 years. So with all that in mind, Meri is now coming out of that fog can be really tough. When you're dealing with a narcissist, it's like trying to find clarity in a whirlwind. It's hard to grasp what's real and what's not. Now, throw in the added complexity of cult programming and it gets even trickier. Imagine being told for years that you should just submit, keep your head down, and ignore your own feelings. You're conditioned to think that having emotions is off limits, and all you need to do is follow the authority figures. That was Meri's reality. Then when Cody and Robyn formed their own little world, it became them against everyone else. Robyn craved that control, and that's how Jen sees the situation. Take a look for yourself.
Person that was like this new insider with him.
The new shiny toy.
Yeah. And that it just became them against everybody else. And then she'd act like she was your best friend and then completely ignore you and hurt your feelings. Like, that's really up. Like, either be an
It's
asshole.
quite amusing to hear her refer to herself as the new shiny object. This is a sentiment echoed by many women who have left polygamous relationships, often describing how when a husband takes on a new partner, she becomes like a new toy, something fresh and exciting. They compare it to a child who gets a new toy and suddenly forgets about all the others which just get tossed into the toy box. In this context, the women are really objectified and dehumanized, which is a sad reality in that lifestyle. Cody definitely seemed to focus all his attention on Robyn, and I'm curious to see if, over time, we'll hear more about how he acted when the cameras weren't rolling. None of them have really opened up about how he would constantly compliment Robyn on her looks, her figure, her youth, her attractiveness, right in front of the other wives. He would call her a supermodel, making it clear that she was his trophy wife. They joked about it a bit in the first season, but that dynamic never really changed. He made it obvious that he valued Robyn's appearance more than the others, which must have been incredibly hurtful. Now Jen is saying that this is where Cody wanted to be with Robyn and they formed this tight unit. It's interesting to note how Robyn seemed to distance herself from Meri. If you read Becoming Sister Wives, Meri's chapters are brutally honest, perhaps too much so. She talks about how Robyn initially befriended her, making her feel like they were going to be best friends, only to completely drop her once Robyn and Cody started their courtship. It quickly became all about Robyn and Cody, leaving Meri feeling used, which she openly expressed in their 2012 book. You know, I really believe that people need some time to sift through their own mess before they can start being honest. They've been lying for so long that it creates this sense of shame, like they feel like frauds. It's pretty remarkable that Meri even brought that up. A lot of folks have called Robyn a fraud, but Meri said, "I don't think that." Still, she acknowledged it, which is interesting. Have you ever heard anyone else say Robyn's a fraud until now? I certainly haven't. But Meri did, and then she added, "But I don't see it that way." So it's clearly on her mind. Now, Meri's perspective on their relationship compared to Robyn's is quite fascinating. I can already predict that Robyn will blame Meri for this, which is just classic Robyn behavior. I remember my relationship with Robyn being solid. We were really close. But then something shifted and I felt a divide. I always stood by Meri, even when others were plotting against her or ignoring her. The only time I sensed a change was when Meri moved. That's when things started to shift, but I always cared for her. Honestly, I think it might take a lot for Robyn to admit she played a part in any of this. When you're in the middle of a conflict, it's easy to feel justified in your emotions, right? But sometimes, one person is genuinely in the wrong and has hurt someone else. All it takes is a simple apology, but I can't think of a single instance where that's happened. I've lost count of how many times I've heard Robyn apologize to anyone, but I can definitely recall moments when the other women had to apologize to her. Christine, for instance, was always trying to smooth things over with Robyn, but she often found herself being labeled a bully. To be fair, Christine didn't like being called a bully, but she did admit that she had her moments back in the day. She even confessed to taunting Meri about her kids, going so far as to tell Meri she hoped she would have a miscarriage. Their arguments often revolved around that kind of stuff. Christine didn't want Meri to overshadow her, and according to Meri, whenever Christine got pregnant, she would make a point to flaunt it in front of her. That dynamic of hurt and rivalry doesn't just disappear when you add another woman into the mix. On the show, which, let's be honest, can feel a bit staged, we did see some of the women apologize and take responsibility for their actions. Meri, in particular, made several attempts to own up to her past behavior with the other women, especially regarding events that happened before the show aired. While Janelle and Christine were given plenty of space to voice their grievances, Meri didn't get the same opportunity to share her side of the story. This has led to a rather one-sided view of how the others perceive her actions. In the world of polygamy, It's not uncommon for men to shift blame onto the women. They often let the women argue among themselves, creating tension and division. Cody, in particular, has drilled into his kids and the women that Meri was the problem. You know, it's interesting how people perceive the dynamics in that family. Cody was the one pulling all the strings, controlling the money and making the decisions about their lives, not Meri. He used her as a scapegoat, and when she stopped following his lead, he turned against her. You could really see that play out on the show. So when I hear people say how terrible Meri is, I can't help but be skeptical. Cody has been painting her in a bad light for years. Sometimes when I listen to McKeely talk about Meri, I think, that sounds just like what Cody says. And then the kids chime in with, we didn't even realize Meri was that bad until Robyn came into the picture and made us think that. Really? So, you only saw her in a negative light after Robyn showed up? That feels like Robyn is manipulating everyone to turn against Meri. It's a classic move for narcissists to run smear campaigns. We really need to take a step back and question the perspectives we hear. In this case, I firmly believe that Meri doesn't owe Robyn any apologies. It's clear that Robyn changed once. She got her legal marriage to Cody. It was as if Meri vanished from the picture and suddenly, it was all about her and Cody. Robyn played her cards right until she secured that legal marriage in 2015, and then it was like nobody else mattered. Janelle even pointed it out back then, saying, it feels like you're going to run off into the sunset. And that's exactly what Cody did. I mean, can you really think it was anything else? Sure, some folks might say that sounds like a storyline from Big Love, and maybe it does, but they had to create some drama to explain why she was going to get a divorce. It wasn't just because it was from Big Love, and the storyline wasn't the issue either. The real reason was that Cody wanted to divorce Meri and make Robyn his legal wife. Then yesterday, some of you pointed out, if legal marriages don't matter and spiritual relationships are more important, then why even have legal marriages? And you hit the nail on the head. Legal marriages absolutely matter. They matter because legal wives are the core of the family unit. They're on the taxes with their husbands, on the deeds of their homes, and share bank accounts. In most states, community property laws dictate how assets are divided, and she plays a crucial role in that. I know Meri gets a lot of criticism, but that was a long time ago. Janelle mentioned recently that Meri was fair and always made sure everyone got their share. She never doubted that Meri would advocate for them. Things changed with Robyn though. Because Meri had been so good to her, Janelle wanted to ensure Meri didn't get shortchanged in Coyote Pass. There were money disputes in the early days, but once they got on the show, they were all under contract and had their own incomes. They were paid per episode for a while, so Meri had a salary, Janelle had a salary, Christine had a salary, and Robyn had a salary too. Meri really put in the effort on the show. She drove many of the storylines because a lot of the family members didn't want to work. Robyn wasn't interested in being on camera, so Meri had to juggle 3 jobs. Once they started making money, the idea that there were fights over feeding the kids seems ridiculous. Sure, when they lived in Wyoming, they were definitely struggling financially, but all of them, let's be real, they were struggling. Meri wasn't living the high life. In fact, they were all doing pretty poorly. They often went without food, and that included Meri. I've shared this story before, but I have a friend who was close to them. One day, she visited their trailer with some other women, and all they had in their cupboard were cans of refried beans. Nothing else. It wasn't just Janelle's kids who were going hungry. They all faced food shortages, including Meri. There was no money, and that's when Janelle left for 6 years. Meri has made a lot of sacrifices and has even contributed a significant amount of money to the show and the family. Unfortunately, Robyn has taken advantage of that. For Meri to even consider the possibility that Robyn might be a fraud is a big deal. Even if she insists, I don't believe it. You can tell she's starting to question things. When Robyn claims she's always had Meri's back, that's just not true. It's a lie she tells herself to avoid accountability. It's becoming clear who the real narcissist is between Meri and Robyn. Meri is willing to take responsibility for her actions. She'll apologize and try to make amends. He did that for years with Cody and Robyn, but it was never enough for them. On the other hand, Robyn never admits to any wrongdoing and now blames Meri for leaving and changing everything. Even before Meri left, she was expressing her frustration about not seeing Robyn for years. She would text her and Robyn wouldn't respond. So who's telling the truth here? Meri or Robyn? I believe Meri over Robyn, and I think it's going to take some time before we uncover the full story. It's a tough situation since they're still under contract. but I'm really glad Meri has friends like Jen who can point out the obvious. So, what do you think is going to unfold in this relationship? Do you think we'll finally hear her say that Robyn is a fraud, rather than just people speculating about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. The show kicks off on Sunday, and I've noticed many of you are watching these videos without subscribing. So please click that subscribe button. It's totally free. Just hit the button and then tap the notification bell so you won't miss any of my videos. I really appreciate all your comments, so make sure to leave them below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.